I actually believe him, and the reason I believe him, John, is because um, I think that a debate isn't where he shines. Remember when he first was introduced in, if I'm not mistaken, that was Pennsylvania, the day after they announced that he was the vice presidential nominee. He had to call Kamala and say, I've never used a teleprompter before. And obviously, the debates, there's no teleprompters, but he's not the type of candidate that is going to do well with, I'm going to use quote unquote talking points. Like, you have to hit this point, you have to hit this point. He's a pure guttural head football coach that's reading things, going in the locker room and speaking from his heart, maybe banging on the locker, slapping a helmet or something. That's the type of energy he brings to the campaign. Remember, he's the one who kind of coined the "they're so weird" or "mind your damn business" or "we'll sleep when we're dead." All that stuff doesn't necessarily play well in a debate because there's no crowd and there's no pop from the crowd. I'm not saying he'll do bad. I'm not. I'm saying I believe him when he says that it's not probably his strength. You know what I mean? It's not. Granted, it's not JD Vance's strength, so I think there's an advantage here. But CBS has already announced. I don't know if you saw this. CBS has already announced that they're not fact checking, not even to the point where ABC did. And so, does Tim get caught up in the same thing that Joe Biden got caught up was having to fact check while you answer? And Kamala didn't have to do that, right? Kamala didn't have to talk about the eating cats and dogs things because the moderators did. And Kamala was able to give her response and then put Trump on the attack. And I wonder if maybe some advice to Tim Walz would be don't fact check everything JD Vance says. If you see an opportunity to say you're wrong or you're lying or you're misleading people, sure. But I think Joe Biden, I think that's part of the reason Joe Biden had a slow start to the debate was he had to be responsible for fact checking Donald Trump, and you cannot. You just can't. Nobody can keep up with him in that rapid pace, especially you only have 2 minutes to answer. So I believed him. I don't know what to expect. I don't think this will be as watched or as much of a blowout as say the Kamala Trump debate was, but can we get JD Vance to talk about Project 2025? Can we get him to talk about his extreme abortion stances? Can we talk about how they want to ban birthright citizenship and pass laws to do stuff like that? That would be the goal here. I don't think Tim is the most. Again, he could talk, but it's from the heart, and so I wonder if he has to talk about data points and all this stuff if he struggles a little bit. But I also will say, John, he's a teacher, right? So he's probably used to presenting things in a structured manner. He's a football coach. He's used to addressing people. So I think he'll be fine. I don't want him to chase the carrot, so to
Yeah,
say.
I agree to a certain extent. One thing I think should be pointed out though, and I know a lot of people have shown footage of the JD Vance, Tim Ryan stuff, but I think that the spotlight's a lot harder on JD Vance right now, and I think that um, to your point about like almost watching the Biden game film is don't get wrapped up in data, don't get wrapped up in facts, but go for the heart. I mean, I can't see that Springfield, Ohio doesn't come up. You should be able. I think that JD Vance's record and JD Vance has a lot of things that he doesn't want to talk about and doesn't need to talk about. It's going to be fatal for him. It'll be fatal performance wise for him to talk about. I would set traps. Now, the funny thing is, for those of you who are big Pete fans, Mayor Pete or Secretary Pete, he is actually playing JD Vance in in Tim Walz's uh, debate prep, which that may actually I think that I think he has a great debate prep person is what I'm saying, and that's Mayor Pete or Secretary Pete. Um, and I really think that I think that there are some obvious advantages that JD Vance takes going in, but I also think that this is going to be different than JD Vance versus Tim Ryan. And I also think too that the coach himself, and I'm calling him the coach, I do think that there's going to be a strategic thing, and I do expect um, uh, Governor Walz to outperform expectations. Let's just say that. I understand why the expectations are low. I don't disagree with them being low or why they're low, but I also sort of feel as though um, that they're overcomable, and I think that he's going to outperform. As we all say, with anything is managing expectations. Um, Also, considering how he allegedly performed against Tim Ryan, uh, does is who has the higher bar that they have to live up to tomorrow night? Or well, tomorrow night, because this will drop on Monday for Tuesday.